So I invite you just to take a deep breath with me right now and allow the breath to center your awareness now, in this place, in this moment, to deeply connect with what is alive in you, what is moving in your heart, what is moving in your mind, what is moving in your life. As we open up, as we come together, instead to co-create this experience, to be together, share together, to expand our awareness together, to grow in our own spiritual understanding together, to be together in community. Just feel yourself fully present, fully here and now. Feel yourself supported, loved, surrounded in light and love. Breathe deeply, open your eyes. And I just want to invite you, just for a moment, just to look around the room. See each other. Notice each other come together in that awareness of connection. I think I'm going to stand down here. I hope that really doesn't bother anyone that I stand down here, because I feel separate up here. I like being here so that I can connect with you, so that I can look in your eyes and see your beautiful faces and really be present with you. Because my heart is really full of love and also some pain. There's so much suffering in the world, so much pain in the world, so much fear happening in the world. I was just reading one of the statistics about the mass shootings in our country, and there's more than one a day happening in this country. And that hurts my heart. And I know it hurts your heart as well. And as I think about the message of Christmas and the Christmas season, Advent season, traditionally, the 4 Sundays of Advent in the traditional Christian experience, and we observe it sometimes, or each Sunday is devoted to one idea: hope and love and peace and joy. And so that really is the message, I think, of the Advent season: peace and hope and love and joy. And I think we all want that, don't we? Isn't that how we want to live our lives, really? In peace. Peace within ourselves, and peace with each other, and peace in the world. Don't we all want that? And don't we all want to feel the hope? Sometimes I feel hopeless about the situations in the world. What do I do? How can I make a difference? Is there hope? It seems sort of hopeless at times. I want to feel hope. I want to feel hope for the world. And I want to know love, and I want to know that love is what guides us. And I want to know joy. Just the joy of being. That joy is the very nature of our being. And I think that's what we want, isn't it? Isn't that really what we want? Right? And so that's really, I think, the message of Christmas. And so, but there's so much pain, so much fear, so much suffering in the world. And I have to ask myself, why? Why? And what comes to me is that it really is a spiritual dis-ease that has reached epidemic proportions. And that disease, I believe, begins with one idea. One, if you will, germ of an idea. And the germ of an idea is I am separate. I am separate from God. And because I'm separate from God, I'm separate from you, I'm separate from me, I'm separate. And when I think I'm separate, I am scared. I fear. And I'm alone. And so I think that it's really is a spiritual dis-ease. And the problem, I think, is that we have tried to treat the symptoms of the disease rather than the cause. I don't know the solution for gun violence. I don't know. I wish I knew. I wish I knew how to legislate happiness and joy and peace. I think there is a cure, though. And I think the cure is spiritual awakening. Connection. And I don't think that there's only one way for that to happen. Unfortunately, I believe that rather than contributing to the cure, quite often religion contributes to the disease. With all the laws and the rules and the way you're supposed to be and what's supposed to happen and right and wrong, good and evil. Those ideas contribute to the disease because they separate us from God. Religion should be about helping us to have an experience of God, having the experience of the divine. Jesus, the master teacher, said, I did not come to abolish the law, I came to fulfill the law. I think what he meant by that was the law has its place, but the law is a guide for us. When the law is fulfilled, the law within us, it wasn't Jesus who came to fulfill the law, it is the Christ within. The awareness of the Christ consciousness within that is the fulfillment of the law. And I believe that when we awaken to that Christ within us, when we are willing and able to accept it, to recognize it and to realize it and to reveal it through us, that the law is fulfilled. But as Jesus also is reported to have said, as he read the scripture from Isaiah about coming into the world and to end suffering and to give help to the needy and all of that, and Jesus said, today in your hearing, this scripture has been fulfilled. Not only do we realize it, recognize it, realize it, but we also have to claim it. We also have to be willing to do something with it. We also have to be willing to live it. We also have to be willing to say to anyone and everyone, today, in this moment, the Scripture is fulfilled in me. And the Scripture is fulfilled in me when I am willing to embrace the Christ as my divine nature. And we use the word Christ. We use the word Christ because in unity, Christ is the perfect potential, the divine idea in the mind of the God that is the allness, the God that is the source of all. And we believe in unity, that we follow the original teaching of Jesus to the best of our understanding and ability to do so. Letting go as much as possible of the religion about Jesus and embracing what we believe to be the spirituality of Jesus. And that is our path, primarily because our co-founders, Charles and Myrtle Fillmore, were grounded in the Christian tradition, and they knew that tradition, and that was the tradition of the time where they were living, and that was the tradition that they adopted and learned from and shared and expanded upon. It does not mean it is the only path. There are many paths. And if you're on a path that says this is the only path, I would say you're on the wrong path. Just a personal opinion. Because there is great truth. And if there is a path, if you're on a path that says in any way that you are separate from God or that God is out there judging you in some way, then I would say you're on the wrong path. Because the path to hope and to joy and to love and to peace and to freedom is the path of discovering our own divine nature. That is the cure to the spiritual disease that we are all dealing with today. And I also want to say today that don't think it's just out there, because it's not. It begins right here with me. You see, we want to make it about them. If they would just do the right thing. Right. I know, right. If they would just wake up, right? Yeah. My life would be a whole lot simpler. And the world would be at peace if everybody would do it my way. Can y'all get on board with that, please? And so, again, how does that work? How do we do it? There's no one path. There's no one path to the cure, but I think the cure is the same. Spiritual awakening. And when I say spiritual awakening, what I mean is our conscious awareness of the divine expressing in us, through us, as us. And I believe that is the message of Christmas, Advent and Christmas. That is what we celebrate. And how do we do that? Again, in our tradition, what we try to do, or what we are attempting to do, is go back to the original teaching of our way shower, Master Teacher Jesus, who we believe attained that awareness, who we believe lived from God consciousness, Christ consciousness, his awareness of oneness with the allness that is. And he spoke from that place. He taught from that place. And so what I believe we try to go back to is his original teaching, trying to understand it from that perspective. Not trying to say, well, Jesus was all about the law. Jesus was not about the law. If Jesus was about any law, it was the law of love. At least that's what I believe. So, as we look at Jesus' teaching, how does that help us to embrace peace and love and hope and joy, not only during this season of Advent and Christmas, but every day? Because I do believe, ultimately, if we are honest with ourselves, that is what we would choose. Right? I mean, if we were making a conscious choice every moment of every day, which we can do, wouldn't we choose peace? Wouldn't we choose love and joy and hope? I mean, who among us is going to choose fear? Really? I don't think so. And so wouldn't we choose that if we knew how? I'm not saying I know how. I'm not saying I do it. But I am saying I believe that's what we really long for. And in order for us to achieve that, I believe we have to get in touch with our truest desire, which is to know ourselves as the Christ expressing in the world. Help me out here. I think in order for us to really experience the life that we long to experience, to cure the dis-ease of separation, the pain of separation, the fear of separation, the solution is to know ourselves as the Christ. Pretty simple, huh? It's a simple idea. It's not always easy. It's a very simple idea, and I can sit up here and I can stand up here and I can talk about it. And I can give platitudes about it. I can tell you what Charles Fillmore said about it. I can tell you what other teachers have said about it. But you know what they're saying about it comes from their experience of it. Nobody can teach you how to do it. Nobody can teach me how to do it. All they can do is point the way. And I think that's all that we can look for in those teachings. In the teachings of Jesus, in the teachings of the Buddha, in the teachings of Muhammad, in the teachings of Krishna, in the teachings of any prophet, master teacher. They can't do it for us. They're only pointing the way for us. that each and every one of us must have our own experience of the divine. Each and every one of us must have our own experience of what we call in unity the Christ. And how do we do that? Well, briefly, I want to share with you a little bit from my blog post, my article in the newsletter this week. And what came to me as I sat with that a little more this week was the scripture that said, "Ask and you shall receive, seek and you shall find, knock and the door will be opened unto you." And I believe that the master teacher Jesus, as well as other masters, knew that we had to have the things to survive in this physical world, but that was not the focus. I don't think Jesus was referring to, well, ask for a new car and you're going to receive it. Or ask for a new goat and you're going to receive it. Whatever the desire was when he was talking. I think Jesus' focus, as well as other masters, was the focus of knowing knowing God within. Knowing our oneness with God, attaining God consciousness, attaining the consciousness that we call the Christ consciousness. I think that was what Jesus was teaching about. I think that's what Jesus was teaching from. And I think that we have corrupted in many ways that teaching. I don't think Jesus was about materialism. I don't think any of the ascended masters, the enlightened masters, were teaching about materialism. I think they were teaching about how to achieve God consciousness, how to be in that Christ consciousness, how to open up to that mystery, if you will. And when Jesus said, "Ask and you shall receive," I think what he was saying is ask within. To know yourself as God expressing. To know yourself as the Christ. Ask within, who am I? To ask within, reveal myself to me. And to earnestly ask. And to be willing to receive. To go into that silent place within and ask, reveal the truth of myself to me. And if we ask earnestly, if we are honestly seeking only to know ourselves as the divine, and that's where we have to be clear. That's where I have to be clear. Because what happens for me, I'll just be honest with you, what happens for me is I know that's my deepest desire. I know I want to know myself as God expressing. I know I want to be able to stand with the Master Teacher Jesus and say the Father and I are one. I want to be able to stand and say the Scripture is fulfilled here in this moment because I'm choosing to fulfill it. I want that to be my sole desire. I want that to be my asking. But what happens for me sometimes is when I go into that place, all of those material things start coming up. Or I want to do that because if I do that, then somebody might think I'm special. Or if I do that, somehow that I will be able to write a best-selling book. Do you know how that stuff creeps in? I want it, but do I want it solely because I want that? Do I want it solely because that is the only desire of my soul? And then to seek. Those who seek, find. Again, Jesus wasn't talking about seeking. Searching, seeking. We don't seek for peace out here. We don't seek for love out here. We don't seek for hope out here. We don't seek for joy out there. The only place we find it is here. We don't have to go anywhere else. Because in truth, there's nowhere else to go. There is only here and now. There is only what is happening now, in this moment, in my consciousness and in your consciousness. You and I are creating our experience from what is in our consciousness. I'm not saying, again, like I said a few weeks ago, I'm not saying you are in control of everything that happens out there. However, because of your consciousness, you are in authority over how you experience everything that happens out there. There's nowhere else to seek peace, my friends. Nowhere else. Remember that country song, Looking for Love in All the Wrong Places? Looking for love in all the... looking for love, looking for peace, looking for joy, looking for hope. All of it is found right here. I know that kind of sucks sometimes, doesn't it? Yeah, it does for me anyway. I'm like, it's got to be somebody else's fault at some point, you know? But it's not. It's my experience. And if I want peace, I must find peace. And if I want peace, I must find peace, and then I must live peace. If I want love, I must find it within me, and then I live love. If you truly seek within, finding that Christ, finding God within, that's where you find love. That's where you find peace. That's where you find joy. That's where you find the hope that you might be seeking. And then lastly, knock, and the door will be opened unto you. I think, again, Jesus was saying, knock, and the door. And this is my own interpretation. It's no one else's that I know of. But the door, from my perspective, is anything that we allow to stand between us and the realization of the Christ. Whatever that door is for you. That there are many doors that we create in our own minds that separate us, that we believe separate us from who we are and who the Christ of our own being. When we knock on that door, when we allow that door to open, because I believe that the Christ of our being is right there. Always right there in the center of our knowing, in the center of our hearts, saying, come to me. Remember me. Open the door. Greet yourself. Greet yourself as the Christ. Again, I know it is really easy for me to stand up here and talk about it. And I know it's not as easy to live it. But I think choosing moment by moment to live it to the best of our ability is the cure to the dis-ease of separation, and is the cure to the fear and the pain that we see all around us, happening all around us. But again, where is it really happening? Not happening out there. That's only a reflection. All that stuff is just a reflection. Where is it really happening? It's happening right here. So how do I wrap all this up? What I'd really want to say about that today, I think I've said it. Hopefully I've said it. I guess ultimately what it is, to wrap it all up, to summarize it, is that it is an inside job. Allowing the Christ to be born in our own awareness, allowing the Christ consciousness to be embodied within us. It's mind and spirit and body. It's all three. I have to know it. I have to be willing to open myself to it, to claim it, to realize it. And then step by step, I have to be willing to walk it, to do it. The Holy Trinity, if you will. So I just encourage us as we go through this time of Advent, maybe a good practice is to ask and to seek and to knock. Reveal myself to me, my divine self, my true self. Seek within to know that, and to seek within to know what is keeping me, what are the doors that are keeping me separate from that. And the doors only exist in my own consciousness. And so as we prepare ourselves to celebrate Christ, celebrate the birth of Christ on Christmas, I think Advent's a great time just to open ourselves up. To ask within, to seek within, to be open to having that revealed to us.